Well, a difficult road that the airline is following is probably the understatement of the evening. Now let's talk to the president of the South African Cabin Crew Association, a critical player. Zazi Nsabanyoni Mugambi joins us to discuss this issue further. Good evening to you. It's a troubling time for your members. More talks have been held on restructuring. We're hearing as many as 1,000 job cuts need to be made, says SAA, if more funding is to be procured. What are you hearing?
I think from the meeting we had on Monday, we were told the scenarios that were presented to the stakeholder last year in December. So we were only told this week about those particular scenarios. And then we were told that there's obviously, they want an accelerated sort of 189 process where people are going to go. Then we obviously asked for more information. And we stated very clearly that we need to be consulted with these decisions. We don't need to be told once the decisions have been made. Today, we met with the BRP, and as we're sitting there, we hear, as usual through the media, that these closures are happening. So we've just heard this ourselves, and I mean, it's devastating. This in just a rough...
Let's clarify that first of all. NUMSA is quoted as saying that it's been told that anywhere between 950 and 1,000 job cuts need to be made. Have you been told that figure yourselves, or are you simply hearing what other people have said?
No, remember the 900 and odd members' retrenchments was a figure that was bantered around last year, around the estimate. And then they basically told us it's a lot more than that. You know, so we don't.
What does that mean, though? What is a lot more than that? What is your understanding?
But you see, those are the questions that we asked. We need the rationale behind it. We needed to understand what routes, this is on Monday, are going to be closed. So we asked for more information in order to wrap our minds around this particular number. And obviously, we've said this from the beginning. We wanted an inclusive process where we could actually be there and understand the decisions that have been taken, and that has not happened.
So it's your contention tonight, then, that this is not an inclusive process, that you're being shut out, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, exactly. You're being shut out by the business rescue practice.
We absolutely are being shut out by the business, and I think we articulated in very strong terms to them today to say, you cannot come here and tell us. It pretty much went out to the employees while we were being told, and the media, as we sit there as vested stakeholders to this particular process. So we just found out, and it's unacceptable.
So you expressed your disappointment, your annoyance. What did they say to you then?
I think what they've said is as they've been going along. And I mean, Jeremy, if you read the press statement, they actually said they've consulted the creditors, the shareholder, and they explicitly say that they haven't consulted Labour, and they concede to that. And I think it's going directly against the Companies Act.
All right. The flip side to the argument, though, that unless these job cuts are made, the airline is not going to get the funding. So it's either a case of cut the jobs, swallow the bitter pill, or none of you have jobs.
And I think the perception that we just are anti-job cuts is the wrong one. I think we, from the beginning, have said, let's look at various scenarios. Let every stakeholder that can make a good impact on this plan be included. And we can all sit and say, okay, we've tried this and this and this, and this is, as stakeholders, this is where we have to go.
Who are those
has not happened.
Who are those stakeholders, apart from you and NUMSA, that you would like to be consulted?
I mean, for instance, we've said from the beginning, Jeremy, that we wanted Vuyani Jagana in, because we bought into his plan, and his plan, we believe, would not have led to where we are today. And we're surprised that there's such a resistance. There was, such a resistance to have him on board. And just to hear, if his plan was not viable, that could have been said. And
he's moved on. He's no longer part of the process.
No, but he understands the industry. The business rescue practitioners conceded themselves that they have no experience in the aviation sector. So they've relied on consultants from overseas that really don't have an in-depth view. And this is why, Jeremy, that it appears that BRPs have relied also very heavily on SAA management, the very same management that has brought us to the place that we are today. And that is unacceptable. We have to have people with a different thinking in order for us to get out of this.
All right, so you've had two very bitter meetings, patently, with the business rescue practitioner. Has anything been agreed?
No, I think today was that meeting where most unions were irate and just very upset about what has transpired to date. So there's been no real engagement, Jeremy, with unions in particular. I think the interest for the BRP is obviously the creditors and the shareholder, and leaving the rest of us behind. And we are seriously seeking legal advice on this, because we cannot just sit back and watch half of the employees at SAA lose their jobs without looking at every single possible
What does
scenario.
seriously seeking legal advice mean in terms of what? I mean, what recourse are you now seeking? What objective would this have?
Well, I think it would be premature for me to say, because then if it doesn't happen, but sort of to interdict this particular process until such a time that all various scenarios have been dealt with. And this is not to be problematic or troublesome. This is just to make sure that we don't see an escalation of the unemployment rate in South Africa. I mean, there's men, women, and that take care of kids, single household people that are going to be gravely affected by this.
Let me get this very clear, because this is important and
Yes.
this is a new development.
Yes.
Okay, you're seeking legal process with the possible intention of interdicting the process, but as yet you haven't reached that point. But it is now under serious consideration.
Absolutely.
I don't want to misquote you.
Now, as I leave here, we are seeking legal process, and that's why I said I'm not going to specify a specific legal route, because these are advices that we're going to get from our legal team. But, I mean, we'll seek, if it means an interdict, we will interdict. If it means removal of people that are not there to actually seek a fair, open, transparent process, then that will be it. That will be determined, and we'll announce that tomorrow.
Very quickly, what about the route cuts today?
I mean, Gonzo never actually took off in the first place. Hong Kong hasn't been flying since December, so we sort of understand that. We don't understand the rationale behind Sao Paulo, because it's one of our, you know, from a cabin crew perspective and not necessarily an economic perspective, one of our full flights, which is actually very popular. People actually love the Sao Paulo route. So, I mean, we haven't really, Jeremy, had time to really zoom into, you know, this particular list and make up our minds on how we feel about it. We shall do this, you know, in the process of tonight and tomorrow.